heaven and hell is a mind state. I can create hell right now, right here. I can also create heaven. And if I do what I love with those that I love, I am creating heaven on earth.
Welcome to Heartful Wonders, where we ask the question, what does it look like to really follow your heart? I'm excited for you to be here.
Robert, I'm so freaking excited that you're here. Like, it's hard for me to contain how excited I am. We've known each other for a really long time, like many years, more than 5, right? 6, 7, 10?
It's probably 7 or 8.
You and I already have gotten to know each other and like each other for many years in the business setting. Like, we've talked about Marco Polo and how we can bring Marco Polo to business and teams and so on. And then and so you've always been kind of like in this bucket for me of like a man in a business who like is a big supporter of Marco Polo and my journey as the CEO of Marco Polo.
Yeah.
And then I read your LinkedIn post that we talked about tapping into the energy of love and your story of getting to sobriety and how that whole process and like a question that a coach asked you that really changed everything through breathwork and so on. And my heart just like lit up. And I was like, I got to have this man on my podcast because this is a special, special story that I really wanted you to share with the listeners.
Let's go.
So do you mind if we start there?
To make a long story short, I had grown a chain of wireless retail stores to about 10 locations. And it was also around the same time I'm in a leadership meeting and a member of my team said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this thing called Marco Polo?" Because we were having communication challenges. And I was in a space of, I went from 100 and something employees to about 450 people in a span of 3 years. And in the very early part, my phone just exploded. And I'm trying to manage all these individual relationships and these new relationships. Anyway, and around that same time, I moved my family to Costa Rica. So I get sober, I move to Costa Rica. I happen to be using Marco Polo to make my life work in another country and to do business asynchronously, which I thought was like, holy shit, everyone should be doing this. And I told everyone, I was like the biggest evangelist. Like I was relentless. Like I wouldn't shut up about it. I even made a course about it and I never launched it. But long story short, I was in Costa Rica and I got exposed to breathwork and I signed up with this breathwork facilitator. And every week I would drive up top of a mountain. It was like an hour drive on top of this mountain to go spend time breathing in a rhythm for 3 hours. And this is like for 3 hours straight. I mean, it's a wild, bizarre, it's rebirthing breath work where you re-experience the first trauma of all of our lives is being born and entering this world. And we carry this trauma from that birthing process and you can re-experience that. And it handles a lot of like deep core things. And long story short, I had a breathwork facilitator, Monica, the wife of the breathwork facilitator, Arnie, that I was seeing, said to me, "Robert, what do you do?" And it was just like in this passing conversation. And I said to her, I sell cell phones and I've been doing it like almost 20 years. And she said to me, says, "Robert, you sell cell phones? You help people connect with old love. You help people find new recipes for food to eat, find new business opportunities. You connect people." And I was just in awe that that question just unlocked me like instantaneously. I was like, oh shit, I had forgotten. And there was a bit of like this remembrance, and it was like I had fallen asleep, and then I had woken up, and I would remembered who I was, and it was weird. It was really surreal, and that moment for me is like, okay, I get it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm meant to do. And that was just the most powerful. And I get emotional about it because I'm so thankful to have gotten that experience, because I instantly knew how I could serve my team better. I instantly knew how important it was, my role was. And it wasn't that we just, I sold cell phones. No, I connect people. And that really began the journey, really.
What made you move to Costa Rica? What made you say, now sobriety, now it's time for sobriety? What made you sign up for breathwork? Like, how did you, quote unquote, know to do those things?
Well, it's this magical thing that happened. My wife asked me to do a 30-day sobriety challenge with her. And I found the sobriety experience was fine. It was okay. It showed a lot of things to me during the experience, but honestly, on the last day, I had every intention. I was thinking about the next day. I was like, what am I going to have for dinner? What wine am I going to have? I'm going to have a steak. Like I had prepared the cocktail lineup for this getting to drink tomorrow. And I was excited about it, honestly, because it was like going to be on a Saturday. And it was on a Friday that I discovered that a friend of mine that was at a bar in Nashville called Losers, that's actually the name of the bar.
Wow.
She told all her friends that she was getting in an Uber after she'd been there all day. And she got on her daddy's truck instead. And she went to go to her dad's house on I-65 in Nashville. She was not wearing a seatbelt, and they had to identify her body with her dental records.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I don't know why, but I felt like that was a sign. Mm-hmm. I felt God was like, all right, you get a choice. You can choose, to go back to this thing again or not. And I don't know, it was really clear for me. The right decision. Now I didn't do AA. I didn't kill anybody. A lot of people, when I say sobriety, they want to create all these stories that I've been arrested or all these things. That's okay. I get why you would do it. And, I just said, you know what? I choose not to drink today. Now I don't say like, I'm never drinking again. I'm 9 years sober. But to me, sobriety is presence. The ability to have presence, to actually get the messages from God, to get the messages from source, like to be in tune with this path. And, the very first week when we started our Costa Rican adventure, I had discovered my payroll services provider had been embezzling money from me a week before I go. And on the trip, I literally was made whole. They wired me my money back because I had an heirs and missions policy that paid me back. And I happened to meet, it happened to be while we were in Costa Rica. I went to go visit a house, and the whole land and everything was freaking amazing. And meanwhile, what I didn't know as we bought our house and navigated stuff, my wife submitted us to go on House Hunters International and the TV show. And then that came up and that happened. And we had a whole 30-minute show about moving to Costa Rica. And they made my wife this villain because they always they got to make a story and conflict and everything. And these wild things happen. I mean, just like the fact that I was on a TV show with my family at the most amazing time in our lives. And I mean, so many synchronicity, wildness has happened. It's just like story after story and these unfolding. And, but yeah, that's, Costa Rica radically changed my whole life.
Maybe you can speak a little bit to that. Like, it's one thing to stay for 30 days. It's another thing to actually move there for a while.
To go into the rest of the story, where I really want you to hear more of the story, because I navigated a second a second sobriety journey because to speed up things, I moved my family to Costa Rica. Within 3 years, I took my company from 10 to 100 million in sales. We became the fastest growing business in Middle Tennessee 2 years in a row. We had this meteoric success, and it was very scary in lots of different ways. But fast forward 2020, T-Mobile acquired Sprint, and we were a Sprint retailer. And I had 78 locations. We had, grown and scaled, and T-Mobile acquires Sprint, and basically overnight our business fell apart. Overnight, they took us off the internet. We were not on Google. We couldn't be found on search. The very first month after the acquisition from T-Mobile, I was losing $500,000, and I owed the bank a lot of money, and I thought everything was ending, and I was starting to use weed. Mm-hmm. And at first it was just like any fucking drug. It's like, it's, oh, this is amazing. I get the munchies. That's the only downside, but I'm not gonna, and from August to December, I had to find a buyer to sell the business to. I had no choice. I did not get an exit like you would want after 22 years of business. I did not have that exit. I did not have that, that amount of money that, I don't have to ever worry about money again. Yeah. And, fast forward December 31 of 2020, I am on a Zoom call, the last Zoom call, saying goodbye to my team. And I was in tears and just totally tail between my legs is really what happened. And to the whole 21, I was, just picking up the pieces of this business and losing a business. And then I was really lost, honestly, and heavily using weed. And it became more and more. Fast forward, I go to Costa Rica. Well, if I'm being real, I wrote a suicide note at the end of 21.
Wow, Robert. Wow, yeah.
And I told someone. I told a friend. Yeah. And he said, you have to come to Costa Rica. Let's spend some time together. And we had an amazing time together it was February. And I had been to Envision Festival, which is essentially the Burning Man of Costa Rica. It's like the 7-day festival. In fact, I'm going this month, and it is fire. But fast forward, I'm at the airport in San Jose. I'm trying to get my COVID results. And I'm standing there waiting to get my COVID results because they hadn't emailed at me. And I look down at my bags, and there is a drug dog with its head laying on my backpack.
Oh my God.
And I look down and I see this drug dog, and I'm like, fudge. I'm like, what the fuck? What am I going to do? Who am I? Why do I even have these weed pens? I suddenly went into shame and guilt and what my family's going to say, And by the time my mind is racing, I look down and the drug dog is gone. And I'm like, close call. And then I look over my shoulder, and there's 2 officers, and one is pointing at me now.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, fudge. And he comes up to me, gets right in my face, and he's like, sir, did you smoke marijuana while you were here in Costa Rica? And I lied because I'm a liar, I guess. And he says, well, can I look through your bag? And I said, sure. And he goes and he grabs my shaving kit, and he's going through all the zippers, and he misses the one zipper that thing is in.
Wow.
And then he goes in the other bag, which I had more, and finds nothing. And so I'm going to the airport, and I'm like, was that a sign is this another one of those instances of a sign,
Yeah.
And fast forward 3 months later, my family and I are going to go to Peru. We happen to be at our house in Costa Rica. It's the summertime. And I'm going to pack my bags, and I grab the shaving kit and I move the shaving kit to put it in my suitcase. And would you believe that little pen jumped out of the shaving kit and bounced on the floor?
Wow.
And I was like, no. It was too coincidental, because I'm about to go on an international flight to Peru, you know. And
Yeah.
so I said, you know what? I'm not going to take it. When I get to Peru, I'm going to look up a breathwork video, and I'm going to pick up breathwork again, because I had stopped.
From my perspective, you're a guy's guy. A businessman, like you don't read woo-woo. And yet somehow, and I don't think you were at the time when you decided to do breath work. So I really want to go back to that point of what made it that you're like driving an hour up the mountain to do this breath work. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Do you remember like what made you say yes?
So I'm, fast forward, I'm in Costa Rica a bunch, around a lot of unique individuals. There's two types of people that you'll meet in an expat community in Costa Rica: people running from something or people looking for something. And so it's a lot of people that are curious. And I got invited to a breathwork experience with a bunch of people. It's a 3-hour experience. And and I experienced something I had never experienced before. And this is, I've done psychedelics, since, but I had not experienced anything prior to that. And it was like a complete reset. Like when you do a rebirthing breath over the course of 3 hours, you wake up like someone pressed the reset button. And you're like, your nervous system is completely regulated, and you just feel different in your body. And you experience presence like you've never experienced presence before. And when you are just so accustomed to having a revved up nervous system, to feel yourself without the it's transformational. And I was like, okay, I need to investigate more. And yeah.
So it sounds like your experience the first time was just kind of impromptu, saying yes to this thing that sounded interesting. You were in Costa Rica, so why not? And then that led you to get, in a way, not hooked in a bad way, but enough curiosity there that you wanted to follow that string.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had similar experiences with breathwork. For me, it's so powerful. I think the thing that you're saying about calming the nervous system, I had no idea how revved up my nervous system was. Yeah. And the breath work has been really transformational for me too. So putting out a plug for breath work, and excited for people to discover that. And then I also wanted to touch on even the sobriety piece. It's interesting because so far I've mostly had women on the show, and I've talked to mostly women about these experiences of following your heart. And the consistent pattern has been something around overcoming some kind of fear. But when I'm talking to you, it sounds like it wasn't so much overcoming fear. It was more about opening up to a message from God or love or something like that made you stop and say like, there's something here. Is that how you would describe it?
No, I think it was dealing with the fear. That the fear was a big piece of it. Just to give you, a lot of people talk about manifestation. Mm-hmm. And when we first moved to Costa Rica, we started getting these break-ins, and I'd never had the amount of break-ins. And then all of a sudden it was nothing but break-ins. It was so many break-ins. I manifested more break-ins. Seriously, I just expected them. And so much I had a team in the Philippines watching our cameras in the middle of the night during the day. And my life became, I'm just assuming someone's breaking in, and they would.
Wow.
And I got through some coaching and kind of got out of the mental space of assuming that. And then I had an armed robbery. I never had an armed robbery in my stores. And would you believe I had 6 in a row for every month, 6 months in a row?
That's insane.
The power of our minds.
Wow.
If you think negative thoughts, you will have that happen. And it's, I mean, I tell everyone, like, to recognize that you are manifesting negative is just as important as to understand the possibility of manifesting the positive. And we create everything in our lives. You know, my favorite statement to tell people, and this is deep, and a lot of people get upset about it, and this is my belief system. So you believe what you want.
Yeah,
but hell is, during your last breath of air on this earth, discovering that you were God the whole time. And you can read into that all you like. And that has become my deepest knowing. And I literally am amazed if I can even say that statement out loud and then sometimes not believe it because my fear comes in. But when I'm in my truest, highest self and I remember, I'm like, I created all with God. You know, it's just like we are together. We, all of us, like the consciousness.
Well, this actually is great because you talk about Jesus, you talk about God in some of your writing, and you talk about the power of love in leadership and how religion and leadership and love, they all go together. And it's not about pushing your way through, but it's really through, again, leading with love. Can you speak more about that too?
Yeah. And I don't come from, there's a guy named Bill Donahue. If you look at Bill Donahue on YouTube, he's the first, let's say, preacher that I've ever really finally has helped me understand the meaning of the Bible, not in a religious context. More, the Bible is an allegory of a story of our mind, that heaven and hell is a mind state. I can create hell right now, right here. I can also create heaven. And if I do what I love with those that I love, I am creating heaven on earth. The idea that I got to wait to go to heaven when it's here, like, is a concept I love knowing. And I really never, and if anybody Googles Bill Donahue, he's very new agey, and these are videos from 13 years ago, and he's wearing a short sleeve shirt with, I mean, it's so goofy, like when you start watching it. But if you can last more than 2 or 3 minutes and really listen, he teaches the Bible in a way that is like so comforting. It's really the idea of Christ consciousness. And that it's an allegory. These are not literal stories. These are symbolic. Just even the rebirth of Christ is the idea of being born again. And we can be born again right at this moment by moving from the left hemisphere of our minds, which is 90% of our entire lives are in fear and worry and doubt, logical calculating of all the things that could go wrong. But if you meditate and slow down your breathing long enough, you can move the mind over here to the right hemisphere. The act of tithing is not going to church and giving them all your money, giving them 10%. Tithing to the right side of your mind. Putting your meditation practice, tithing to the to that. That's where the act of creation and all that exists. That's the 5D world that we can, and it's like a new way to think about mindfulness and meditation, because no one's ever taught to me that meditation is to build to your higher self for a deeper connection to source. It's always been sold to me as like this mindfulness practice. And you sit there and you're going, and you're like, why am I, right? And to know that it's to build a deeper relationship with self and to take no thought. And then when that thought comes in, to remind yourself to take no thought, and you can go within, and then mystical, magical magic will happen. And what is true is our mind is saying crazy things. And I mean, some of the most wildest experiences, you know, we're having a great day and you suddenly imagine some crazy car accident. We all, it's like, that's the carnal mind. And it's the awareness that, hey, I am not my mind. And when I'm deep in fear, I can breathe in a rhythm and I can tap into what's real. And what is real? Love. And that's the energy that you can go from. Because, a lot of people don't understand. They think energy comes from the food that we eat. They think the energy comes from the sun on our skin, right? They don't realize that the true energy that powers us is love. And we have access to it. And we are abundance to it, and we can give it to other people. And that's why when you start your day in an act of gratitude and fill your heart up with that gratitude, and then express it into you, and then express it outside of you, into your home, into your neighborhood, into your city, into your state, into the country, into the world, into the oceans, like you expand that love. And when you do it with breathing with a bunch of people and you expand it in a room, you will have a mystical, magical, wild experience, which I love because I get high on that, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. It's interesting because I've recently watched all the seasons of Jesus, the show that was on PBS. What struck me the most was, of course, there's stories, and it's a story of Jesus, and it's not done yet. There's the next one coming out. But the thing that I felt the most, like the important message, is really love, and that's what struck me the most, is how not reading it word for word, like what exact word meaning is, but tuning into the vibration of love was super powerful for me. 100%. And really, really impactful.
You familiar with the levels of consciousness, right?
Yeah. But do you want to share that?
Yeah. So if you Google levels of consciousness, you'll see a map, and you'll see that the very bottom of the scale is shame and guilt, which is the lowest vibration. And as you raise your vibration, you'll encounter anger, which leads you into getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. Where it goes into courage, where you actually make a decision, you step into your strength. You're like, I'm done with this. I'm making a decision. And as you climb up the levels of consciousness, you get to a middle point, which is called love at 500. And really below that, this fear state between courage and shame and guilt. Like when you've done wrong, it feels awful. You feel you can't think creatively. Your fear sets in. I'm not enough. I mean, you go in rabbit holes and you spiral, right? You get stuck. And when you start raising your vibration, 500 is this energy of love, which is magnetic. When you are love, when you are like, people around you are like, I want more of you. I want you around. It's wild. And if you look at the levels of consciousness, you got love, joy, peace, and enlightenment, which is 1,000.
Wow.
One person in a state of enlightenment, just say Jesus or Buddha or Gandhi or any of these people, and there's many, 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 many people. One person vibrating at this level of enlightenment, pure, it's the purest of the pure, counterbalances 70 million people that are vibrating at a lower level of a vibration. Wow. That's the power of love, because it is an actual, like, we are transmitters and receivers, and that is the most important thing that we as a society should be teaching everyone, is that. And there's a path to love. There is a path for everyone. Everyone should have this experience, and you don't got to go do it in a church. You don't have to do this outside of it. You can do it in your home. You can do it right now, and everyone should, because to me, like, that is, I have a book that I suggest all business owners and visionaries and people that want to do good in this world. This book is called 10X is Easier Than 2X. It's written by Dan Sullivan. I've been in his strategic program for the last 3 years. And it talks about your unique ability, doing what you love with those that you love. That is the biggest setup for anyone to be at a state of love. Mm-hmm. When you are doing what you're uniquely designed to do, I believe somehow in the spiritual plane, you made a decision for the mission that you wanted to do here on earth. And many of us have forgotten. You have not forgotten. You know exactly what you need to do. And so by doing that, you are in the vibration that attracts everything that's possible. And you just being authentically you, not wearing a mask anymore, not being, the nerdy, not in the version of yourself, not being Clark Kent, like being you. And that is a magical. So the whole book 10X is Easier Than 2X is talking about most people only spend 20% of their lives in their actual unique abilities, doing a bunch of stuff that they don't really love to do, that puts them in lower states of vibration. And so it's the journey to flip it from 20% to 80% of your life in that. And that means you hire the right people. You hire people around you that are great at the things you are not great at. And so I tell everyone, the most powerful spiritual book that exists is disguised as a business book. And if you were to follow that book, and it's a book you study, actually. And at the last, there's a page 242. It talks about the counterbalance when you're in a state of love, how you counterbalance, like that 1,000, you counterbalance 70 million people in that state of love. And when a leader, an entrepreneur leading a team is in that state, you become a magnetic energy for your clients, for your staff. People will not leave one leading in love.
Yeah, I mean, that totally resonates. And question for you, how does one know what their thing is?
It's a feeling you get when you're doing what you love to do, when you're connecting, and you don't even know what time it is. There's a concept called Kairos time and Chronos time. Chronos is my watch. It's 5:18. I can sense the movement of time. But in Kairos time, it's beyond space and time. When I'm in a state of flow, I can travel long distance. I can talk to you like I've been talking to you. I'm not thinking about what's going to come out of my mouth because it's coming from my heart. I don't need to calculate and wear a mask and try to put it through a little filter in my brain. What are the right words to say? I don't need to do that when I'm in flow. Flow feels like getting high. And you're doing it and you're like, I want more of this. And you may find it when you're speaking on stages. I guarantee you feel it when you're speaking on stages. I guarantee you feel it when you're talking on Marco Polo to someone you're connecting to. That's your work. Your work is communicating love through your
Mm-hmm.
presence to someone else. We don't have to do all the, like, God takes care of so many things when you're in flow.
Yeah. And for me, I think the journey has been to not feel guilty for feeling that much pleasure doing work. There's some kind of limiting belief that I've had that work can't feel this good, but
Isn't it the
it
most,
can.
dude, that's why, Dan Sullivan says we are not meant to retire.
Yeah.
Retirement kills so many entrepreneurs because they lose their zest of life.
Yeah.
And like, I am with you. Like, I want to do what I love with those that I love so I can live in heaven on earth. And that's why I've acquired this 12,000 square foot building, event center, which is a co-working sauna, cold plunge, podcast room, meeting space, dance club, specifically to bring people together and just have fun and connect and grow our businesses together and go on the journey of life together. And, that's doing what I love.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2 more questions if you have time.
Sure. Let's go.
Okay. One question. Well, this is going to go back to the heavier topic from earlier, but in a moment, because it was so powerful when you shared that you wrote that note, and I don't want to skip over it, because that's like, at this point, you're incredibly successful. You've done a lot in your life. And yes, the business collapsing, like I can't even imagine. And in a way, it's like a death of a child because you've put so much of your identity in it. And you're completely broken down.
Mm.
And you write this note. But then there's something in you that says yes to support. And the reason I ask is because for me, sometimes in my lowest moments, I don't say yes to support. And so I'm curious, like, what happened for you that you were open to it, or it could be that you just built differently. So that's possible too. But I'm wondering if you can slow that moment down when your friend said, come to Costa Rica.
I had gotten in a habit of journaling every day, and it came out in a journal experience, and it shocked me. Like, it wasn't like I was very conscious. I was just kind of being flow, writing, and finding that, every day it was just like more fear, more fear, more fear. And when I got, I think there was a part of me that says, if I would hurt so many friends if I had not said something. And I know that people would come to me if they had wrote something. And, it was my love of others to do that. Really, it was my love of others to not, go there. I never took serious action. I never made a massive plan. It was just like this realization that I had been so broken that, in this acknowledgement that, gosh, I need to get help.
Mm-hmm. But even that, I think, is so amazing. And I think that's the part I really want people to hear, is that feeling broken can look different for different people. And at least for me, it's like, oh, it's not as bad. People have it worse or whatever it is. But to recognize that, like, hey, something is off. I'm not my normal Bobby, or I'm not my normal self. I'm having this repeated thoughts of fear, or life doesn't feel abundant. It is a sign that it's time to ask for some kind of help. Life can feel different.
Yes, 100%.
And I love that you said it's recognizing that your friends want you here, your family wants you here, and having the capacity to say, "Hey, I need help," is really huge. I'm really grateful that you did that.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking about that. And then I also really wanted, because you're so heartful, not to make a pun about it, but like especially recently, I'm finding your LinkedIn post, the way you're talking about things is just full of heart. And I would just love to know, what does it look like for you now to follow your heart?
Yeah. I still write a lot of posts that are very Robert minded. And I really appreciate you saying what you said about my post, because I got a lot of feedback, and I never have gotten that kind of level of feedback about my post. And it was one of those posts that I didn't use AI to make. It was real authentic. And when I wrote it, and it just goes to the power of your words and how they do transmit energy. They transmit love, and I think that's really beautiful. What an amazing art form that you can put heart in a set of words, and how powerful that can be, which is making me feel like I need to spend more time on that, because that is also a practice of love, like putting your heart on paper. What are the words that you would use to articulate what that is? And it's not like we don't have to overthink it. We just have to, it's actually a lot more basic than that. When you get to really uncovering, like sharing your heart, it's not complicated. It's not like in fact, you're not even thinking. You did this great exercise with me when we started this. You're like, let's close our eyes and really go inside and really connect our hearts. And do you know how rare that is for a leader to take a moment and do that? I did that with a client once, and I got fired because they were super religious. I guess the devil's coming.
Yeah.
And you are doing that, and which tells me your team is receiving that, and you're teaching them. And this, at the end of the day, the work that I'm going to do is activate leaders who are willing to stop for a moment and go get the heart connected into the experience, and then do business. Right? It's almost like you can imagine leaving the house naked. It just. Mm-hmm. But we do it all the time in theory. I know this is a little bit extreme, but you can, as a bad analogy, I think another one, but it's like nobody's doing that. But what a freaking, there should be a checklist before you leave your house. Like, go through life with love. And, it solves so many things. I'll never forget. I was with a bunch of dudes one time, and these are really powerful dudes. They have successful businesses, and we're all together, like in this like men's circle kind of thing. And this guy's struggling with his dad, and, a bunch of dudes. And we're like, well, have you tried to do this? And have you tried to do that? And we're just like, we're all in our heads, like, oh, strategy, And then somebody was like, well, have you tried love? And it was the most, everyone cried. Everyone was like, duh. Like, and I think everyone like, again, when you're on the far left hemisphere in the mind, to even think about that, it's very difficult. It doesn't, like, that's why it should be on everything. It should be literally a heart everywhere. It's like, oh, okay, heart, go.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
They can find me at scalingsober.com. They can email me at robert@scalingsober.com. And I get on a call with entrepreneurs all the time. And it's not about sobriety. It's about presence, because all the time, well, I don't have a drinking problem. I don't do whatever makes float your boat. But at the end of the day, are you present enough with your feelings? Are you using alcohol, or using your phone, or are you using other things to distract yourself from feeling? And if you can start to lean into being curious about why are you running, you will find your deepest, most important evolution of you is to build a relationship with your true self, your higher self.
I love that so much. And I just want to add that I think productivity is another addiction. Like the thing that you said about not feeling all your feelings, productivity is a great excuse because it looks so good on paper. I'm so productive.
And it's addicting.
But if the motivation is to not feel the feelings, then it's just another addiction, another escape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. And if Heartful Wonders is becoming a part of your journey, the best thing you can do is subscribe. That plus rating and commenting really gives a signal to the algorithm on the platform that this content is worth sharing. It helps get it into more hands that could benefit from it. So please do. I'd really appreciate it. And then also, I would love to hear from you. So please leave a comment. I read every single one of them. I'd love to know what are some of your takeaways, what's sitting with you, anything you want me to cover in the future. This episode is sponsored by Marco Polo, the most magical way to stay close to your loved ones. With over 2.5 million 5-star reviews, Marco Polo is the favorite way to be really part of each other's lives. And the best part, it's completely free. There are no ads, no algorithms, nothing addictive that keeps you longer than you need to stay in the app. So I hope you get it today on App Store or Google Play or by going to www.marcopolo.me.